The cell phone was a decade old, the screen scratched. She was bone-tired, her feet aching from 10 hours on her feet at the diner. The eviction notice, crisp and official, lay on the chipped kitchen counter. She picked up the phone, her vision blurry. She meant to text her brother, the only family she had left. Her thumb slipped. She didn't double-check. The message, raw and true, went to a number labeled M. Garage Bodywork. She'd gotten it from a flyer months ago, never called. The text read, "The rent is due tomorrow. I don't have it. I'm out of options. I don't know what to do." She put the phone down and cried, silent tears of sheer defeat. Across the city, in a private room at the back of a steakhouse, a man was listening to a tedious proposal. His phone buzzed. He glanced. The message was not from a known number. He read it twice. The raw despair in it cut through the noise of his world. He held up a hand, silencing the room. He typed 3 letters. Who? He waited. The reply came with her address, followed by, "Sorry, wrong number." He stared at the address. It was in a part of town he rarely saw. He stood up. "Meeting's over," he said, and walked out without another word. For an hour, she tried to forget the strange reply. She cleaned her small apartment, a useless attempt to feel in control. Then she heard it. Not just an engine, but a deep, vibrating roar that made her windows hum. It didn't fade. It idled. She crept to the window. Below, under the sickly yellow streetlight, was a car that looked like a spaceship. A Lamborghini, black and gleaming. A man stood beside it. He wasn't looking at his phone. He was looking up, scanning the building's facade. He was older, maybe late 50s, with silver in his dark hair. He wore a simple black coat, but it fit him in a way that screamed money and power. Panic seized her. She backed away from the window, heart pounding. Was this some kind of scam? A robbery? 15 minutes passed. The engine cut off. The silence was worse. A soft, firm knock sounded on her apartment door. She didn't move. The knock came again. "I know you're in there. I got your text." His voice was calm, low, carrying through the thin door. She opened the door a crack, the chain locked. His eyes met hers. They were intelligent, wary, but not cruel. "You texted me," he repeated. She apologized profusely, explaining the mistake. He listened, not interrupting. When she finished, he nodded. "The offer stands." She was confused. "What offer?" He gestured vaguely downstairs. "The car. It's downstairs. The title is in the glove box. It's yours." She laughed, a short, scared burst of sound. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking," he said, his voice utterly serious. "It solves your problem. You sell it. You pay a rent for 2 years. He saw the utter disbelief on her face. He softened his tone, just a fraction. "My name is Michael. I own a business. I have a proposition. A job. Come downstairs. Hear me out. You can say no, and I drive away. You never see me again." Something in his manner, the directness, made her hesitate. She had nothing left to lose. She nodded slowly. Downstairs. He didn't try to get her into the car. They stood on the sidewalk beside it. He explained. He restored classic cars. High-end clients. His office was a disaster. His last office manager had retired. He needed someone organized, discreet, and with no connection to his other business associates. "You have clear eyes," he said. "You looked at me like I was a threat, not a mark. I need that." The car was an advance, a sign of good faith. The salary he quoted made her head spin. It was more than she made in 6 months at the diner. "What's the catch?" she whispered. "The catch is my world," he said bluntly. "Sometimes men in bad suits will come by. You tell them I'm not there. You don't accept gifts. You don't get friendly. You do the job. You go home. That's it." She looked from the impossible car to this impossible man. The safe choice was to say no. But safe had left her with an eviction notice. She took a deep breath. "When do I start?" "Tomorrow," he said. He handed her the keys. "Drive it tonight. Get used to it. It's yours." He walked away, disappearing into a regular sedan that had pulled up silently. The first day at Vitali Restoration was surreal. The garage was a cathedral of steel and machinery, spotlessly clean. The mechanics, burly men with tattooed arms, nodded politely but kept their distance. Her office was a glass box overlooking the shop floor. Michael was all business. He showed her the filing system, the client list, the banking. His instructions were clear, his demeanor professional. But she noticed things. The way the mechanic straightened up when he entered the bay. The absolute silence that fell when his personal phone rang. He took a call that afternoon, his back to her. His voice dropped, and the air in the room turned cold. When he hung up, he stood still for a full minute just breathing. Then he turned, saw her watching, and gave a small, tired nod before returning to his desk. A routine developed over the next few weeks. She arrived early, made coffee. He'd arrive later, always immaculate. He began leaving a small pot of fresh flowers on her desk every Monday. No note, just flowers. She organized his chaotic schedule, fielded calls from anxious wealthy clients, and learned the difference between a Ferrari 250 GTO and a Jaguar E-Type. One evening, she was working late on payroll. He was in the shop, alone, working on a vintage Mustang. She watched through the glass. He wasn't the boss here. He was a craftsman, his hands gentle on the steering wheel, his face relaxed in a way she'd never seen. She brought 2 cups of coffee down. He took it, surprised. "You don't have to stay," he said. "I know," she replied. They drank in comfortable silence, surrounded by the smell of oil and old leather. The first threat came on a rainy Thursday. A man with a pockmarked face and a cheap polyester suit walked right into her office, ignoring her. "Can I help you?" He leaned on her desk. "Where's Michael?" His breath smelled of cigarettes. Before she could answer, Michael was there. He hadn't run, but he seemed to just materialize in the doorway. His posture was different, looser, more dangerous. "Sal," he said, his voice like ice. "My office. Now." The man, Sal, smirked at her and followed Michael out. The door to Michael's office closed. She heard the low rumble of Michael's voice, a single sharp reply from Sal, and then silence. 10 minutes later, Sal left, his smirk gone. Michael came to her doorway. He looked weary. "You handled that right," he said. "Thank you." He started to leave, then turned back. "From now on, the door stays locked when I'm not out here." It wasn't a suggestion. The incident changed things. It made the danger real. But instead of driving her away, it sparked a protective feeling in her. She started paying closer attention, noting license plates of strange cars, memorizing the names he muttered in frustration. He, in turn, began to share fragments of his life. Not the dangerous parts, but the human ones. He loved jazz. He'd wanted to be an architect. He hated the rain. One Saturday, he asked if she could help him with a client presentation. They worked side by side in the quiet garage. For the first time, they talked about ordinary things, bad movies, good food, the best way to make grilled cheese. He made her laugh, a real, deep laugh that surprised them both. A week later, he came into her office and placed a small, plain black cell phone on her desk. "This is for you," he said. "It has 1 number in it. Mine. A different line. If you ever feel unsafe, if you see something that doesn't look right, you press 1 and send. You don't have to talk. I will know. And I will come." The weight of the phone was nothing, but the meaning behind it was immense. He was giving her his fear. He was admitting she was in danger because of him, and he was handing her the direct line to his protection. She picked it up. "Okay," she said simply. That night, driving home in the Lamborghini, she couldn't bring herself to sell it. She felt a confusing mix of terror and something else, a sense of being seen, of mattering to someone powerful in a way that had nothing to do with the car. The attack happened in the most mundane place, the parking lot of a supermarket. She was loading groceries into the Lamborghini's tiny front trunk when 2 sedans boxed her in. 4 men got out. They weren't like Sal. They were younger, harder, with a professional coldness. One smiled. "Michael needs to learn to share." Her hand was already in her purse, finger finding the black phone. She pressed one and send. Get in our car nice and easy, the smiling man said. Her mouth was dry. Michael won't like this, she managed to say, stalling. The man's smile vanished. Michael's opinion is changing. Then, tires screeched. Not one car, but three, Michael's sedan and two of his shop trucks, driven by his mechanics. They didn't ram the cars. They surrounded them. Michael got out. He didn't shout. He didn't run. He walked slowly, his eyes locked on the man who had spoken. The air crackled with tension. No one drew a weapon. It was a silent battle of wills. Michael spoke, his voice barely audible but carrying. You touch her, and I burn everything down. Starting with your uncle's favorite restaurant. You tell him that. The lead man stared, calculating. He gave a curt nod. They got back in their cars and left. Michael watched them go, then walked to her. His hands were trembling. He took her groceries and put them in his own car. You're not driving home alone tonight, he said, his voice rough. He drove her to his home, a sleek, modern, and utterly empty penthouse. It looked like a hotel. He made her tea, his hands finally steady. It's over, he said, not looking at her. The job. The car. Everything. You have to disappear. He explained. The men were from a new faction, hungry and reckless. They saw his attachment to her, a woman outside the life, as the ultimate vulnerability, a way to break him and take his territory. They're right, he said, finally meeting her eyes. The raw pain there took her breath away. You are my weakness. Because I care what happens to you. And in my world, that's a death sentence for you. He was packing a bag for her. Cash. New IDs. Go to the airport. Take the first flight anywhere. She stood in the middle of his sterile living room, watching the strong, controlled man come apart to save her. And she felt a surge of anger. Not at him, but at the life that had brought him to this. No, she said, her voice clear. He froze. You gave me a solution when I had none. Let me be yours. She walked up to him. They think I'm a weakness? Let's use that. She laid out a plan, not of violence, but of perception. She wasn't a damsel. She was a choice. His choice to be better. The twist wasn't that she was in danger. The twist was that her presence, her ordinary, honest humanity, was the most disruptive force his world had ever seen. She forced him to see a future beyond the war. He argued. He threatened. He begged. She stood firm. Finally, a grim respect settled on his face. He made one call. To the old man, the patriarch, Vincent. He requested to sit down, a peace talk. He insisted she come. Are you sure? Michael asked her one last time. She took his hand. It was the first time they'd touched. I'm sure. The meeting was in a sunlit conservatory, not a dark back room. Vincent was in his 70s, sharp-eyed. He watched them enter. Michael did not hide her behind him. He kept her at his side, her hand in his. Michael spoke plainly. He offered Vincent everything, his legitimate business, his client list, a graceful exit from all disputes, in exchange for a guarantee of safety for her, and for him to walk away clean. Vincent listened. He studied her face. He saw no fear, only a fierce, quiet determination. He saw the way Michael looked at her, not with obsession, but with a reverence Vincent hadn't seen in decades. He saw the end of an era. You love her, Vincent stated, not asked. Michael didn't hesitate. Yes. Vincent sighed, a sound of infinite weariness. I took everything from my Elena to keep her safe. I ended up with nothing but an empty house. He looked at Michael. Keep your business. Go. And never let my city see you again. The deal was struck without a handshake. It was sealed with a look of understanding between two tired men. Leaving wasn't simple. Michael had to untangle himself silently, selling assets, transferring loyalties. She helped, using her organizational skills to dismantle the life he'd built. The garage was sold to one of his trusted mechanics. The penthouse was emptied. Through it all, their connection deepened. It was born in crisis but grew in quiet moments, packing boxes, sharing takeout on the floor, talking about where they might go. The Lamborghini was the last asset. "We should sell it," she said. "It's too much." He shook his head. "It brought you to me. It stays." The night before they were to leave, he took her to a quiet jazz club. They danced, slowly, surrounded by strangers. He held her close. "I have nothing to give you but trouble and a used sports car," he murmured into her hair. She leaned back, looking up at him. "You gave me back my life. You see me. That's everything." In that moment, the last wall crumbled. It was not a passionate declaration, but a quiet surrender of two souls who had found home in the most unlikely place. The final scene is at dawn. The Lamborghini is packed with two small suitcases. The garage is empty, echoes of their voices bouncing off the walls. She stands in the middle of the bay, remembering her first day. He comes up behind her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Ready?" She turns and nods. They get in the car. He tosses her the keys. "You drive." She starts the engine, the roar now a familiar, comforting sound. She pulls out of the garage for the last time, not looking back. He reaches over and takes her free hand, lacing his fingers through hers. The camera pulls back as the black car merges onto the open highway, the sun rising ahead of them, the road stretching out, long and empty and full of possibility. They are not running away. They are driving towards something new together.